return track. Good.
So what are you working on right now?
The last several months and really years have been building up to my next album called A.fter I.ntelligence. It's the album I'm most proud of. I feel like it best encapsulates multiple different aspects of what I'm all about musically. And this album is kind of a concept album about dealing with the existential risk that we're creating for ourselves by unleashing AI into the world. It's something that I've been kind of conceptually and philosophically concerned about for maybe about 5 years. And, hearing different computer scientists, philosophers, like let's say Nick Bostrom and Eliezer Yudkowsky, we're creating something that will eventually be more capable, fast, like infinitely faster, and more have more agency to do actions than we'll ever have, and that we're going to be in relationship to this thing. It's been hundreds of thousands of years since we were even considered to be on the food chain. We're going to be in relationship to this thing like as we are to ants. It's like when we build a skyscraper or a house, we don't even think about whether there's an ant colony down there or what type of thing we're going to be disrupting. We have an agenda. We have this thing we want to do, and we're doing it. And I really fear that we're going to eventually, have a very stark realization that we are now in that scenario to something that is vastly more complex and able than we are. We're going to meet the aliens, and we're actually building them. And the thing, too, is we don't even know if they're conscious or not. And we'll probably never know because we still don't know what consciousness is. And two ways that things could go terribly wrong. One is that AIs are conscious and we treat them that they're not, which would just mean that we're just creating a new form of suffering in the universe and a new form of slavery, essentially. Or the thing that I think is probably more likely and I'm more afraid of is that they're not conscious, but we'll treat them that they are. We'll give them political rights. Our relationships to other conscious entities like humans or our pets or animals, that's going to get warped because now we're going to be treating these things like they are alive and they are real, but they very well could not be. And that's just going to create such a schizophrenia of what it even means to be alive or what's the value of consciousness. Because for me, at the end of the day, consciousness is the one true religion. It's just like, this is what is the magic in the universe. There still is no concrete, figured out reason what it is, why we have it. Is it all just billiard balls, of chemistry bouncing around? If you have enough connections, neural connections in a meat computer, aka a brain, like does consciousness just arrive out of complexity? If consciousness is something different, if there is some ghost in the machine kind of thing, if there is a thing of consciousness being, some kind of building block of the universe or of organic matter, then consciousness is this rare, special thing that needs to be preserved, protected at all costs, and we'll be in jeopardy of losing that. The album, like all things of mine, it didn't start with an idea of, I want to explore AI and the existential risk of it. But I was making a bunch of music over the period of a couple years, and there was so much anxiety and extreme distress that was being kind of discovered within these tracks. And as I continued to get more and more curious and afraid and worried about just the philosophical questions about what AI and our relationship with it will lead us to, basically I had this kind of aha moment at some point. What's going on right now is I'm basically purging all of this anxiety and existential worry about AI, and that's what's coming out into this music. And so I'd say once I had all of the tracks, this narrative popped up into my head, and it especially solidified once I started putting these tracks in a certain sequence, in a certain order. And there was basically a sonic narrative that kind of carried me from the first track, Clicks Prologue. It was always meant to be this prologue to this album. So when I released Clicks, I thought that I was going to be putting out the album within 6 months, but of course things take more time. I wanted to keep perfecting and sharpening tracks, and had new ideas to get some friends to join in, like Ben from Health, doing some drums, and Veronica, longtime dear friend, contributing some vocals. Clicks as this prologue to the story is like the social media failed experiment of, thinking that, if we expose everyone to all the information, the best ideas will win out, and we'll all become enlightened, and everyone across the world will be able to share in this new, digital golden age. And what we've found is like the exact opposite. It's that a lie can run around the world before the truth is tied its shoelaces kind of scenario from Mark Twain's words. And really the social media age is kind of this baby form of AI, all these algorithms being trained on users' behavior and learning how to, we can keep people on these platforms by showing these more things, which of course, I don't think it was an intentional or malicious thing from the algorithms themselves, but we're animals. Our brains are we are much more responsive to negative stimuli because that keeps us alive than positive stimuli. So we're hardwired to, if we hear that twig snap, we're going to jolt because we think it could be a tiger about to pounce on us. Whereas we're just less easily triggered by the reptile brain by positive things. And so what I think these algorithms figured out is that fear, anger, disgust, all of these things keep people engaging, keep people typing more and sharing things more. I can't believe this. And we're now living in this society where everyone, distrusts everything and everyone's in their own little fact bubble. As bad as that is, it's so important to me that that's understood as the prologue to what's coming. For me, the album kind of technically starts on track 2, Artificial Narrow Intelligence, but for me, it's important to have the prologue there because it frames the whole story.
And what's next for A.fter I.ntelligence?
There will be a vinyl release. I've been really excited about this. I've been working with several people, several artists, and other creatives. If this is going to be my one totem that is left here in the world, that it'll be something beautiful and challenging and an experience in and of itself. So it's going to have a big booklet. There's going to be a hidden bonus album that is a bit of an Easter egg that people will have to figure out how to untap it. Also, I'm setting up a live show. I've got a big show in Iceland, which was kind of the big circled date on the calendar. But I'll be playing shows in LA and also probably some local nearby cities. That's going to be kind of an experience, a cathartic experience, hopefully for me and hopefully for the people attending. Previously, when I'd played live, it was always kind of in a more of an active DJing thing, taking my tracks, mixing with other people's tracks. And I think this is where I want to draw the line in the sand, where I'm just going to be performing a full set of all of my original music. And it's been really fun trying to figure out what's the best way of doing that as a solo act, and also trying to figure out a few ways of doing additional narrative storytelling by what I'm doing on stage. And I'll kind of leave it at that for now. Growing up as a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, it was always so cool to me that they put all of this emphasis onto these remix albums that would follow up main albums. And I would discover a lot of new artists. The first time I ever listened to a Coil track was, from Fixed, that incredible Gave Up remix. And then I, had a big Coil phase and still love them. And plenty of other artists that I really loved also, done these kind of Radiohead, like the King of Limbs remix album. There were so many people that I got hip to, like Nathan Fake and Blawan and all sorts of people that participated in that remix album, that series of releases. I reached out to several musicians I admire a lot, and I had no idea if anyone was even going to not only say yes, but even return emails. And I was just blown away by the types of people that I just truly admire so much, that, wanted to participate in this. And I'm really, really excited to share that when the time is right.
Can you give away some of your tricks?
Of course, as we said, always try to do new things, but you build up a bag of tricks. And I have a few bag of tricks that I really love and explored a lot on this album. So one big thing was feedback patches on the modular synth. So I made several patches about, sending inputs to outputs and outputs to inputs and running things through distortions and into different filters and then back from the filter back into the distortion. And when you create these really cool, totally wild feedback networks, that's like the most fun because you really have no idea what it's going to sound like. And every little minute change on a knob creates these wildly different, extremely distorted tones. And kind of I came up with this little feedback system on the modular that is kind of throughout the album. Another big thing on this album is resonators and hitting them with LFOs and distorting the shit out of them. So one trick I really like to do is to take resonators and then hit multiple sample and holds all synced to, either 8th notes or 16th notes and have them, change values every iteration of what you're changing. And if you hit it with enough parameters on your resonators, it starts making these like simultaneously metallic crinklies, but with these low organic bendy kind of sounds. And so you'll hear it all over the album. I definitely have a favorite distortion box. There's this awesome company in Estonia called Game Changer Audio. And they make this plasma rack. So it's a rack mount unit and audio comes in, then it goes into, I think, some kind of xenon tube or something like that. Basically, it turns the electrical signal into actual plasma beam, and that shoots across this xenon tube. And then on the other end, that then takes this now distorted and modulated version of that signal, and it just creates this absolutely wild distortion that it sounds like a bolt of plasma. It sounds like lightning. It just also looks so cool. Like when something sounds so cool, but you've got this extra bit of visual excitement, it just gets you even more excited to play and to mess around with it. And it's got some really nice gating features and frequency modulation stuff. And it just is so fun to play. And that's all over the record too. Yeah.
Would you like to introduce one of the singles from the album?
So on May 12th, I'm going to put out my next single. It'll be the last promo single for A.fter I.ntelligence. The track's called D-Empty. And this one is, it's very personal to me. When I first started making music, all my tracks were with vocals of my own. And at some point in my early 20s, I kind of just suddenly lost all the confidence in that, felt insignificant and embarrassed and afraid and naked. And I stopped singing. Over the last few years, there's an impulse to try to lean into the things I'm afraid of. And the fact that this album ended up becoming all about AI and this thing that I'm most afraid of for myself and for my kids, I thought it was important to me to have some more vocal presence on this album. And this track, D-Empty, say that name 5 times fast and you might get a hint as to what this thing is. It was very important to me that this track go from a period of total nihilism, total feeling of at the end of your wits, and encountering something that brings you back to the most fundamental part of your essence and being, and to rediscover the awe of being alive in this world. And in tune with that, I needed to be in dialogue with something bigger than me that represented the mysteries of the universe, and it was a perfect opportunity to work with my dear friend Veronica Kowasilo, who's an incredible singer, just absolutely fantastic, amazing person as well. She basically gets to be the voice of the universe, the voice of reality, the voice of the ineffable and the magical and the mysterious. I hope that people who listen to the track will kind of go on this ride that it's describing for me.